I'm 62 years old, and I want to tell you about the receipt I still have in the bottom of my bag. It's a small white slip of paper from a bar in Angeles City. It says 3,000 pesos. That's the bar fine I paid the night I first met Joy, the amount you pay to take a woman out of the establishment for the evening. I kept it because I told myself it represented the night I saved her. I keep it now because it represents the night she started taking everything I had. $350,000. Gone. And every single dollar of it started with that receipt and the story I told myself about what it meant. If you have ever been to the Philippines or you're planning to go, and somewhere in the back of your mind you have the idea that you might meet a woman in a bar and give her a better life, if that thought has ever crossed your mind and felt like something noble, I need you to stay with me through this entire video. Not because I'm judging you, because I had that exact thought. I acted on it, and I am telling you, from a $10 room in Manila with $347 to my name, what it cost me. Subscribe right now. Not for entertainment. Subscribe because this channel is the honest education I wish I had gotten before I walked into that bar with my chest out and my wallet full and my ego doing all my thinking. I came to the Philippines 2 years after I retired from logistics management in Columbus, Ohio. 31 years of the same roads, the same building, the same slow institutional grind. I wasn't unhappy exactly, I was just spent. The cold, the routine, the invisible feeling that comes from being a man past 60 in a country that only seems interested in men under 40. I'd done the research, I'd read the forums. I knew about the low cost of living, the weather, the English, the culture. I packed what mattered and I landed in Manila on a one-way ticket with my entire retirement, $350,000, and a genuine belief that I was starting over. My first 2 months I was careful, stayed in Makati, got used to the heat, the traffic, the rhythm of the place. I was lonely, but it was a manageable loneliness. I wasn't desperate. I want to be honest about that because I think a lot of men assume you have to be desperate to make the mistake I made. You don't. You just have to be a certain kind of man with a certain kind of ego, and the right situation has to present itself at the right moment. I went to Angeles City for a long weekend with a man I'd met through the expat forum, an American named Gary who'd been there 4 years and knew everyone. Angeles is known for Fields Avenue, the bars, the entertainment district, the whole scene. I'd heard about it. I told myself I was just going to see it. Tourist curiosity. That's what I said to myself. I went into a bar called something with Paradise in the name. They all have names like that. There was music, colored lights, maybe 30 women working the floor. I wasn't the youngest man in there by a wide margin, and I wasn't the oldest. It's that kind of place. And then I saw Joy. She was at the far end of the bar, not working the room like the others. She was sitting slightly apart, looking at her phone, wearing less makeup than the women around her. She looked, I thought, like someone who didn't belong there, like someone who'd ended up in the wrong place through no fault of her own. That observation, that specific thought, was the most expensive thing I ever experienced. I sent over a drink. She came over. Her English was good. She was 26. She told me her story over the next 2 hours, and it was a story designed for a man exactly like me. She was from a small province in Mindanao. Her father had died when she was a teenager. Her family had debts. She'd come to Angeles looking for work and been pressured into the bar by someone she'd trusted who turned out to have other intentions. She had been there 3 months. She hated it. She was trying to save enough money to pay off the debt and leave. She looked me in the eyes when she said it. She didn't perform vulnerability. She delivered it in a steady, quiet voice that made it feel like honesty. I paid the bar fine. I told myself it was just for the evening, just to get her out of the building so we could talk somewhere better. But I want you to understand, by the time I walked out of that bar with Joy, I had already decided I was going to save her. That decision was made in my gut, in my ego, in the part of me that had been waiting its whole life to be someone's hero. I didn't examine it, I acted on it. The debt she needed to pay off to leave the bar was 80,000 pesos. I paid it 3 days later. The bar manager, a heavy-set woman who spoke in a flat, business-like tone, accepted the money and gave Joy a document releasing her from her contract. I stood there watching like I just signed someone's freedom papers. I felt extraordinary. I felt like a man who did real things in the real world and not just shuffle papers in a building in Ohio. That feeling was the most sophisticated trap I have ever walked into. After that, Joy was mine. She moved into the apartment I'd rented in Angeles. She was quiet, grateful, helpful, warm. She cooked every morning. She ironed my shirts. She woke up before me and made coffee. At night, she sat with me on the balcony and told me about her family, her village, her dreams. She talked about how she wanted to build something real, something stable, something that would last. She told me I was the first man who had ever treated her like a person. She said it simply, without drama, and it landed like a stone in still water. I want to tell you what I know now about the mechanics of that period. What she was doing, and I've had a lot of time to study this since, is called a long game extraction. The initial story, the bar, the debt, the apparent rescue, all of it was calibrated to trigger a specific male psychology, the protector instinct, the rescuer identity. A man who believes he has saved a woman will go extraordinary lengths to maintain that narrative because abandoning it means admitting he was played. So he doubles down instead. Every time the story requires more money, more sacrifice, more belief, he gives it, because giving it proves to himself that the story was true. The family emergencies started around month 2. Her mother was sick and needed transport to a proper hospital in Manila, 45,000 pesos. Her brother was in legal trouble over a land dispute, 90,000 pesos for a lawyer. A younger sister needed surgery on her eye, 70,000 pesos. A flood in the province destroyed the family home, 150,000 pesos to rebuild. Each emergency came wrapped in tears and in the specific kind of apologetic shame that makes a man feel like a monster for hesitating. She never asked aggressively. She disclosed. She confided. She gave me the information the way someone gives information to a person they trust completely. And she trusted me to respond the way a good man responds. I built the house in month 5, province, Pampanga. $60,000, modest and clean. Because I'm a foreigner and Philippine law bars me from owning land, it went in her name. I didn't question it. She was, in my mind, still the woman I had rescued. She had proven herself over months. She had never been anything but grateful, loyal, and present. I trusted her more than I had trusted almost anyone. Over the first 8 months, I calculated later that I moved approximately $180,000 in total. The house, the bar debt, the family emergencies, the daily expenses of a life I was building for both of us. It didn't feel like loss while it was happening. It felt like investment. It felt like a life I had finally earned. I found out the truth through a mistake she made with a phone. We were at a market in San Fernando when someone called her. She moved away to take it. She was gone about 4 minutes. When she came back, her manner had shifted slightly. She was quieter, a little distracted. Later that night, after she slept, I looked at her phone. I'd never done that before. I found a conversation in Messenger that had been partially cleared. What remained was enough. Messages from a man whose profile showed him to be Filipino, early 30s, with photographs of himself in front of our house, the house I had built, that had been taken while I was in Manila for a visa appointment 3 weeks earlier. The messages weren't love notes. They were operational. They referred to me by a nickname I didn't recognize, a Tagalog term I looked up later that roughly translates to the cash source. They discussed amounts. They referenced a timeline. There was a message that said, in English mixed with Tagalog, something like, "How much more left?" And her response with a figure that matched almost exactly what I had remaining in accessible savings at that moment. I didn't confront her immediately. I went back to the forum contact I trusted and paid for an investigation. It took 11 days. The investigator established that the man in the messages had been Joy's partner since before she ever worked at the bar in Angeles. The bar, the debt, the rescue story. It had been a coordinated entry strategy used on foreign men before me. He identified at least 2 previous foreign nationals who had paid Joy's bar fine and subsequently been financially drained through the same family emergency framework. The bar manager, who had accepted my 80,000 pesos so professionally, was a known participant. The lawyer who handled the house paperwork had a prior relationship with Joy's family. When I confronted Joy, she did something I did not expect. She did not deny it. She sat in our kitchen, the kitchen in the house I'd built, and she said very quietly that she had done what she had to do to survive and that she didn't expect me to understand. There was no performance, no tears, no last-minute appeal to what we'd had. She stood up, took her phone, and walked out. She left knowing the house was in her name. She left knowing exactly what she was taking with her. I went to a lawyer, not the one she'd used, a different one I found independently. He explained my options. I had none, not legal ones with any reasonable chance of success. The house was registered in her name with clean documentation. The cash I'd transferred was gone without recoverable paper trails in any enforceable jurisdiction. He gave me his assessment in about 20 minutes and charged me the equivalent of $200. I've been in this $10 room in Malate for just over a year. The Social Security check arrives every month and it almost covers the basics. Almost. I have a small notebook where I've written down what I know, every step, every amount, every moment where I made a choice that felt like generosity, but was actually just compliance with a very well-organized plan. I write it down because I don't want to forget any of it, because the details are the warning. The big lesson sounds simple, but the details are what you actually need to hear before you make the same decisions I made. Here is what I need you to understand about the bar scene in the Philippines, and specifically about the rescue fantasy that gets sold to men like me. The women working in those establishments are, in many cases, professionals. Not in the shameful way that word is usually used. I mean professionals in the specific sense that they are skilled, experienced, and operating within a system that has been refined over years to extract maximum value from a specific type of man. That type of man is not stupid. He is not desperate in any embarrassing way. He is a man who has a functional ego, some money, some loneliness, and a deep, mostly unexamined desire to matter to someone. That man is very easy to design a trap for, because the trap doesn't look like a trap. It looks like a purpose. It looks like a second chance. I want to be honest about something uncomfortable. Part of what made this work on me, and I've thought about this for a long time, is that I wanted the story to be true. I wanted to be the man who walked into a bad situation and pulled someone out of it. I wanted the bar fine receipt in my bag to be a good story, not a warning sign. And that wanting was more powerful than any evidence I had available to me, until the evidence became impossible to ignore. If you are 55, 60, 65 years old, and you are in the Philippines or planning to go, and somewhere in your mind is the image of yourself rescuing someone, walking someone out of a difficult life into a better one, I am not here to shame you for that. I am here to tell you that image is being sold to you. Someone designed it for you specifically. The details will be different than mine. The province will be different, the bar will be different, the story will be different, but the structure will be identical. Keep your money in accounts she cannot access. Do not build property in her name or anyone's name but your own, and understand the full legal reality that as a foreigner in the Philippines, you may not be able to own land, and you need to plan around that reality before you invest a single dollar. Do not pay off any debt that was accumulated before you met someone. Do not fund family emergencies without independent verification of what they actually are. And do not let the feeling of being a good person override your responsibility to be a careful one. I am broke. I am 62. I have no real plan beyond surviving the current month. I cannot undo any of it. What I can do is be honest about it with you, which is more than anyone was with me. Subscribe to this channel, not for me, for yourself, because you probably still have time and money and options that I no longer have. And the information here is the kind that turns a disaster into a near miss if you get it early enough. Get it early. Don't wait for the receipt at the bottom of your bag to be the thing that finally teaches you.